Alright, film lovers, let's do this. On one side, the indie film, made for the cost of one Marvel catering budget, shot in natural light, probably emotionally devastating. On the other hand, the studio blockbuster, backed by marketing armies, explosions visible from space, and a third act that legally requires collapsing buildings. So, which one actually tells better stories? Let's break it down. Indie films thrive on creative freedom. Take Moonlight. Barry Jenkins told an intimate, quiet, and deeply personal story about identity and masculinity. And it didn't follow traditional narrative structures. It lingered, it breathed, it trusted silence. A major studio might have asked for more plot. Indie marketing let it stay poetic. Or what about Lady Bird? Small stakes, emotionally precise, painfully relatable, and no world-ending threats. Just a teenage girl arguing with her mom. And yet, it feels monumental. Indies can afford to be specific. They can afford to be weird and even messy. But here's the thing. Studio oversight isn't always evil. Look at The Dark Knight, for example. Massive studio production and huge expectations. But yet, Christopher Nolan delivered a tightly structured, thematically rich crime epic about chaos and morality. The studio resources didn't dilute it, they amplified it. Sometimes, creative guardrails don't limit a filmmaker, they refine them. Indies don't have spectacle money, so they lean in on character. Before Sunrise is literally just two people walking and talking. That's it. No car chases, no villains. And yet, it's gripping because the writing and performances actually carry the emotional weight. Or consider Whiplash. It was made on a modest budget by Damien Chazelle, mostly set in rehearsal rooms. And the tension doesn't even come from explosions or any of that overtly dramatic stuff on screen. It comes from simple obsession and psychological warfare between student and very aggressive teacher. Constraint forces creativity, but scale can elevate the storytelling too. Take Lord of the Rings, for example. The Return of the King simply couldn't exist as an indie film. The scale, the armies, the cities, the mythic landscapes, it enhances the emotional payoff. When Sam carries Frodo up Mount Doom, the entire cinematic weight of that world building crashes down with it. Some stories need intimacy, but some need armies. Indie films often feel like personal confessions, don't they? I mean, Manchester by the Sea, starring Casey Affleck, doesn't just try to comfort you. It doesn't hide grief up with a hopeful bow. It sits in pain. It allows its protagonist to remain broken from beginning to the end of the stuff. That kind of emotional realism isn't always market-friendly. Then there's Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, a quiet meditation on loneliness and technology. It's strange, it's vulnerable, it's not chasing four-quadrant appeal. Studio films, though, aim for universality. Something that could be for everybody. Look at Ryan Coogler's Black Panther that starred the late Chadwick Boseman. It balanced blockbuster spectacle with themes of heritage, responsibility, family, and even global identity, all the while being accessible to a worldwide audience on that kicking the butt Marvel budget. Or you could also take James Cameron's The Titanic. It had an epic scale, very big budget, big sets, big money, but emotionally, it was simple and universal. Sure, it was a disaster movie at some point, but it still tries to tell the simple story of love and loss. That accessibility is not shallowness, it's clarity. Indies whisper, studios broadcast, but both can move you. Indies take narrative risks. The Florida Project ends without traditional closure. It focuses on marginalized lives without sensationalizing them. It doesn't care if you leave satisfied. It cares if you leave changed. What have you taken away from it? What part of you is broken for a good cause? That's the aim. Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh, even though technically distributed by a studio arm, creatively, it's kind of indie in spirit, isn't it? Multiverses, absurd humor, existential philosophy. Well, it did feel risky in a way that most blockbusters don't. But let's not pretend studios never gamble. Inception was a $160 million original sci-fi brain puzzle. No existing IP, no guaranteed audience would follow dream layers within dream layers. That was a risk. The difference is scale of risk. Indies risk alienating audiences. Studios risk hundreds of millions. Both are still a terrifying prospect. Indie films often create career-defining performances. Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea, Brie Larson in Room. These performances feel raw, unfiltered, deeply human, and studio films, meanwhile, create icons. Think of Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight or Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. These performances transcend the film itself. They become cultural shorthand. Indie acting often feels very personal, hits very close to home on the emotional level, but studio acting often becomes mythic. And of course, both of them still matter. Studio films dominate the cultural moment. When Avengers Endgame released, it felt like a global event. Theaters were packed, people cried when Tony Stark died, and social media exploded. It became communal storytelling on a massive scale. A scale, I'm sorry to say, that Marvel hasn't quite reached again just yet. Maybe they'll reach it with Doomsday, maybe not. Indies rarely create that kind of spectacle, but they do influence the future. Directors inspired by Clerks or Pulp Fiction, for example, went on to redefine mainstream cinema. Many stylistic trends begin in indie spaces before studios adopt them. Studios shape pop culture, but indies shape artistic culture. Well, here's the thing. I can't really give you a straight answer on that. The better storyteller always wins. It's not about the bigger budget. Sometimes it's not even about the indie budget as well. There are some indie films that you could watch and leave very unsatisfied. And there's some big budget movies that have some good storytelling that beyond all the flash and the explosions, you actually leave there with something in hand. Indies often excel at emotional intimacy and personal voice because of the small scale of things. Studios often excel at scale, immersion, and shared myth-making. Now, when indie spirit meets studio resources, well, that's when you get something special. Sometimes it's Dunkirk or Inception, and sometimes it's everything everywhere all at once. The real debate really isn't indie versus studio, it's safe versus sincere. It's great storytelling or terrible storytelling. And trust me, both the good and the bad could still exist on the same side. So, cinema isn't a boxing match, it's an ecosystem. Sometimes you want a quiet kitchen conversation in Before Sunrise, and sometimes you want portals opening in the sky in Avengers Endgame. And the fact that we can have both, well, that's the real victory of storytelling, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching this video on Movie-matic. If you like what you just saw, please do like and share the video, and of course, subscribe to Movie-matic. It always helps us out. Thanks, and have a great day.